Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo. Welcome back to Destiny and our 5th episode of the Daily. 5 episodes. I'm really excited to continue this series and see just how long we can keep it going. It's going to be really cool, I think, if I can make this a series that lasts throughout the lifespan of Destiny. That would be one epic series. Imagine going back and watching all of these episodes, seeing the transitions and the growth of Destiny. I was just thinking about that the other day. It'd be super awesome. But we're here today, and the daily heroic story mission that we will be running for today's daily is the Last Array. This is actually one of the older missions in the game. Track down codes to raise an ancient array and connect it to long-lost colonies throughout the solar system. Today's modifier has actually been selected by me simply because I haven't had a chance to use my first curse at all. Wednesday came, Halo was there, I didn't even go shoot the thing. So we're going to run the first curse only today. Something I'm quite excited about. So let's go ahead and just get right into the thick of things. Now, you guys, last week I asked for questions. I was like, man, I don't have enough questions. I need more questions. And you guys definitely answered the call, so I appreciate that. We've got a ton of questions. I actually have a few on back catalog that we're going to be saving for a future episode. But I've decided to make sure that I break it down to the same amount of questions every episode. So we've got 3 questions we're going to do each episode. And it's going to be a variety of more simple questions mixed in with some longer ones. I tried to base the questions that I've selected, not just on the questions themselves, but also on how long I think it will take me to answer them, compared to how long I think it's going to take to complete that specific daily story mission. Most of the story missions are like the same length, but some of them are really short. Like that one from The Taken King with Eris is like exceptionally short. Let's head there and see if we can find them. This is also going to be very odd because I've been playing a lot of Halo. I do use bumper jumper still, so that's one thing that's familiar, but that's about all that's familiar. Alright, how do I like boost again? There we go. Okay, it's all coming back to me now. It's all coming back to me. Let's get this thing rolling. So first question comes from Marco Malone. He says, do you think the Striker Titan needs a rework? That's actually a really good question because it brings up a lot of discussion, not just, I think, involving the Striker class, but all of the old subclasses, in which I do think they all need a rework. I think one of the biggest things is the fact that the new subclasses are like so just, well designed. They feel like, they feel really fun. They're really well crafted, whether you have the Striker, the Night Stalker, or the Stormcaller, like these are seriously cool subclasses. Whereas you look back and, not that I don't enjoy my Striker, not that I don't enjoy my Defender, and I'm sure a lot of people will say the same for the Night Stalker, for the Blade Dancer, the Gunslinger, and the Voidwalker, and so on. But they feel, much more simple. They feel almost dated in comparison to the new subclasses. So I would love to see them all completely revamped, the Striker included. I think there's potential to make them much more interesting. And I think one thing that's very clear for Bungie is that with the new subclasses, they've went far more fantasy. They've went deeper into the realm of the fantasy RPG, into the science fiction realm. And they said, okay, let's take all the gloves off, like take the restraints off and see what we can come up with. Because admittedly, you look at the Striker and you look at the Defender even, and it's like the concept of those subclasses is cool, but the way they're executed is very kind of just, humdrum in my opinion. Like especially the Defender. I like the idea of like a Paladin type Titan, but I feel like it could have been done in a much cooler way. I think they're a little bit afraid to reach a little bit deeper into, what we have come to know and love in the RPG world, in the more the fantasy realm. And I think in a lot of ways, Destiny is very much fantasy sci-fi, it has that blend. So I'd love to see them, dig deeper into that and not be afraid to go, just a little bit more exotic when it comes to designing these. And the same thing could be said for the Striker. Your dude slams his fist into the ground. How many games have done that in the past, 20 years? Way too many. It's definitely a subclass that needs a rework. I completely agree with you on that one. And I know a lot of you are probably just thinking, what about the performance aspect of it? Like how should that subclass perform? How should it be power-wise? And that's something I'll leave up to Bungie to balance and figure out, because that's got to be a nightmare. But I do think it needs some sort of a rework. I think from an execution standpoint, a visual standpoint, the way you initiate it, just in generally, I would just like to see it be made more interesting. And I think that Bungie recognizes all the old subclasses have the potential. Whoopsie, I need to stop pressing A to sprint because A doesn't sprint. Let's hopefully get some kills with this before I waste it all.
The ghosts are still here.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Be sure to let me know what you guys think about the Striker subclass, as well as any of the other subclasses. I think you know, a lot of the old subclasses, people have thoughts on how, or, you know, whether or not they should be reworked or reconsidered. So this is very much like a non-fanfire version of The Last Word, is basically what it is. And I know it's supposed to be the sister gun to The Last Word, so it kind of makes sense. I do like the way it sounds. It does seem to hit pretty hard. Gonna hold any actual judgment on this weapon, though, until I spend a lot more time with it, so... Oh, we gotta kill people for dead ghosts? Okay.
Find another one.
Yes, yes, I'll find another one. Ah, remnants of the very old questing system that Bungie crafted back then. I really don't like when they make you do stuff like this. It drives me crazy. I just feel like it could have been much more well executed. Go farm these Randall. Get yourself some dead ghosts. Maybe one of them will hold the codes. Just all seems so ridiculous. Alright, let's move on to the next question for the day. Piloto Bahi asks, what is the game you have played the most in your life? Man, I wish I had like an actual accurate way to figure that out. You know, it's like I almost want to say one of the Legend of Zeldas, but I didn't. It's not like I've replayed those a bunch. You know, I played them at launch, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, when those came out, those were huge parts of my life. So it's like in my head, those are the games that I played the most. But in actual playtime, I think that is easily... Actually, that's not easy. You know, at first I was going to say, oh, it's definitely Fallout. I've got like 800 hours in Fallout. At the same time, it's probably going to be Halo 2. And a lot of that has to do with the point in my life that Halo 2 actually came out. Halo 2 released when I was young. I didn't really have too many cares in the world. I think I had a paper route was all I had, which I actually vividly remember having lots of, you know, weekends, especially during the summer, having friends come over, having huge LAN parties, and, you know, staying up all night, drinking lots of soda, getting stomach aches, and then having to wake up at like 5 in the morning to go do my paper route. Damn it, I did it again. Which was an absolute nightmare. Like, there's nothing worse than having like a soda hangover. You know, I don't actually drink alcohol, so I don't really know what a real hangover is like, but I imagine that a soda hangover is on par with that. Just way too much sugar and your stomach is killing you, and that's why I don't drink pop that much anymore. On occasion. Things like that are good on occasion. So Halo 2 for sure, I think, would probably beat out everything else, you know, despite the amount of time that I've actually spent inside of, you know, like Fallout and Skyrim and Elder Scrolls in general. I think if I had to pick one single game, it would be Halo 2. I probably have several thousand hours of Halo 2 played inside of the multiplayer, replaying the campaign over and over. You know, that game was a huge part of my life at a point in my life when I had a lot of free time on my hands. A lot of free time, well before YouTube was even a big thing, that's for sure. I like this hand cannon. I mean, I dig it. It's cool. Seems like it hits relatively hard, you know? I mean, I imagine, like, Hung Jury would probably do more damage more quickly, and I could see how that could be excuse me, that could be a concern or an issue for people. Hiccups, man. But there's something about it, like, I don't know. It's just got a nice personality. And that moves me on to our last question here. Let's see if I can push it in here. Let me just clear this out quickly. Yeah, I got... Oh, can't switch. I can't switch. I almost switched to my Havoc Pigeon. I feel like so incapable right now because, oh my god, I just don't know how to play Destiny. I also need to turn the hair lock off on my controller because it does not work in Destiny. It does not feel right. It feels good in Halo. It does not feel good in Destiny. That's confirmed. Alright, let's do this. Okay, so last question comes from Dragon79758. He asks, what is your favorite exotic or legendary weapon? So I'll give you guys one of each. How does that sound? That sounds like a fair game here. This is actually a really hard one. I had to think about it. I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to say. So let's think a little bit more. Let's start with the exotic weapons. I'd have to say it's probably going to be the Chaperone. I mean, like, hands down. The Chaperone came along and that thing just claimed my heart. I absolutely love the Chaperone. It's such a cool design. I love the, you know, the special reload on it, that whip crack. Like, it's just, it seems like a weapon that whoever made that, you know, whoever designed that exotic put a lot of passion and heart into it. So I think for me, it stands out as one of my favorites, hands down. In terms of legendaries, though, that's actually a pretty difficult decision to make. There's so many legendary weapons, you know, there's so many variants. It's like if I have to pick one, I'm trying to think what I have in my inventory that I use really often. These damn wizards would let me just finish my commentary. I mean, it hits pretty hard, you know? It's not bad at all. I mean, I can't complain too much about that damage. Favorite legendary weapon. Like, I'm trying to think back to year one and, you know, remember if there was any legendaries that I really, really thoroughly enjoyed. You know, not just in year two, even. It's just hard. You know, it'll probably... I'm probably gonna have to go with Hung Jury. I mean, to be honest, Hung Jury is kind of the complete package, because not only is it a legendary weapon that I really enjoy the appearance of. I love that Dead Orbit skin. I love the Amalon scout rifles. They just look super cool. They sound awesome. Love the sort of liquidy, you know, built-in reload device going on. But on top of that, Hung Jury is just like god mode when it comes to legendary weapons. I mean, that thing is so amazing. And if you're someone with a real deft hand, you know, you've got some good sleight of hand, you can drop people in the Crucible, you can drop, you know, people in PvE so wickedly fast. I think that's easily my favorite one right now. That'll probably change over time as I acquire more of them. And you know, I guess I could say a close second for exotics. You know, the two that kept crossing my mind over and over were Chaperone and Thunderlord. Like, Thunderlord caught my attention when they first showed it off way back at E3 when we, you know, really saw Destiny for the first time. And I just, like, fell in love with that thing. And when I finally managed to get my hands on my own Thunderlord, which happened to be through Xur, actually, disappointingly. I would have loved to get that as a random drop. I really, really fell in love with that thing. And one of the first exotics that I saw drop in Taken King in year 2 was actually a friend of mine in the Nightfall got year 2 version of Thunderlord, and I was so devastated. I'm like, I want Thunderlord! I got Invective, and I'm like, I don't like Invective. I don't care about it. I want Thunderlord. Give me Thunderlord. So I'm hoping that there actually is the ability to obtain that, like, Fire Thunderlord that we keep seeing, you know, the different damage type ones that were rumored. I think that'd be the coolest, like, hidden exotic, you know, kind of like Black Spindle was that revamp of the Black Hammer. I'd love to see, you know, different variants of Thunderlord come back. That'd be so, so cool. But that does it, guys. We have completed yet another episode of the Daily. Look at that big, beautiful, rusty array reaching out to the stars to find something that I'm not aware of. I'm gonna be playing around with the last curse. I'm trying to mantle. My god, Halo's taking over my brain. I'm gonna be playing around with the first curse here a little bit more. You know, I don't know, I like it. You know, it's got a nice feel to it. I like the sound effect. It seems like a little bit more thuddy, meaty feeling version of the last word. You know, it just kind of clicks for me. I like this weapon quite a bit. So let's go ahead and roll out. So kind of final closing words. You know, if you guys have any questions or modifiers to submit, please always keep submitting those. Like, honestly, as soon as we stop seeing submissions, I know I'm eventually going to run out. So as long as you guys have ideas and questions and topics, feel free to throw them down there. You know, I don't care if you're the same person submitting, you know, 50 topics a week. That's fine by me. I welcome them, and trust me, I stash them, I keep them. You know, almost all of them are reusable or very, very good. So there's no problem with that. I'd also like to, small note, I've been playing Halo as well as now Destiny, you know, all my games with my new Xbox One Elite controller. Just to kind of give you guys very quick first impressions, it's amazing. If you can afford a $150 controller, which is actually a deal when you compare it to some of the scuff stuff, which isn't, you know, bespoke. I mean, those are controllers based off of the regular controller. This thing is gorgeous. Metal, rubber, stainless, like everything. This is honestly the best controller I've ever used in my entire life. And I've owned scuff controllers. I've owned expensive controllers. This thing just tears them apart. I absolutely love it. I'll be bringing you guys my full first impressions very soon. If you have any other questions for me regarding the channel or the daily, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next one.